If you're hoping for some clarity from Greg Sankey on recruiting, NIL Go, the clearinghouse, anything of that nature, you're probably going to be a little bit disappointed.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir, we're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we're ready to get after it. Sorry for the timing. Had a little vacation this weekend, just getting back into town, and I kind of wanted to hear what Greg Sankey had to say this morning anyways, in regards to hopefully providing some clarity over the clearinghouse, NIL Go, anything of that nature, but we didn't really get it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about NIL Go and the clearinghouse a little bit more in depth. And does Auburn continue to play it safe, or do you make some adjustments or just wait it out till August 1st? We'll talk about all that here in just a second. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to Roback.com. I think I've been saying the coupon code wrong. Use coupon code BARN20 to take 20% off your order. Just got a tweet the other day. Someone bought the hoodie that I typically wear, the retro Albie hoodie. They still have those out there. You can save 20% as well. Hoodies, polos, anything. Kind of go ahead and get your game day gear ready for next season. Show them some love. It's roback.com. I don't know exactly what I expected from today. I thought that, especially after Friday, which I'll talk about in just a second, I thought after Friday, the vast majority of the questions that would go to Sankey, and I thought maybe the vast majority of his conversation would be around recruiting and what to expect from NIL and clarify some things that seem muddy at best, I guess, especially from an Auburn fan perspective over the last several, I guess, since the ruling. It's been sort of, the details have been murky. Is it this? Is it that? Does this count? Does that count? And so on and so forth. And he did not really provide much. Basically, the party line is we're operating under what we believe is the letter of the law. We think we're operating consistent to the settlement terms, is his exact quote. Back on Friday, there was a ruling handed down. I say a ruling. It was really a letter sent to the NCAA and power conferences that House attorneys believe the denial of NIL collective deals violate the settlement and are requesting a retraction of the CSC's guidance and are threatening to report the wrongdoing to the court. So basically, this is what happened. On Friday, or maybe not Friday, but sometime last week, that it was pretty much deemed that collectives, like your NIL collectives, like On to Victory and I guess, Yay, Alabama, just name, insert school, their collective that goes along with it. They basically deem that deals coming straight from those entities are pretty much going to be shut down completely moving forward. They're getting rejected left and right by the commission. And if that's a big deal, because for the most part, I would say the vast majority of what the players, specifically at Auburn, the method in which they were paid came directly from On to Victory. So if you're basically eliminating that, you're eliminating that avenue, you're basically getting into a world of trying to figure out how to make it work with rev share and then really, truly, probably how NIL was supposed to be, run originally, bringing in outside deals. So I think we probably thought we'd get just a tad more clarity on how this whole thing would work, and you didn't really. Not super surprising. A lot of folks are a little bit upset about that, but Sankey said, hey, we feel like we're operating under the guidelines. So that basically turns all the attention to this clearinghouse. And I don't want to say that I've gotten it wrong or my understanding has been incorrect, but I think the emphasis has probably been incorrectly relayed to me, or the messaging has been a little bit off as far as where the big hangup is going to be for everyone moving forward. And I think after talking to a ton of different people, it seems like, and I kind of teased this last Thursday that we'd go a little bit more in depth, but it seems like the emphasis and everything's going to revolve around the clearinghouse and NIL Go. And I know a lot of people thought and have said, oh, the clearinghouse won't do this, or the clearinghouse won't be able to do that. They'll just sue. They'll just do this. They'll just do that. But it seems like, at least for now, this NIL Go is going to be the letter of the land. It's going to be the law of the land. I mean, it's going to be what determines everything as far as how much and how and where it comes from that you can pay a player for their name, image, and likeness. So does the whole third-party NIL deal, does it count against the cap or not? Because that was the first conversation. Cohen says it's going to count against the cap. People have come out and said, hey, the rules show it's not going to count against the cap if the university even helps facilitate a third-party NIL deal. Well, the answer is yes and no to that question. How is that? Okay, well, if it's a perfect scenario, everything checks out, and you promise a kid $100,000, and then you can fulfill that $100,000, it will not go, and it's a third-party deal, it will not count against your cap, okay? If you promise a kid in writing a deal for $100,000, and you can only fulfill 99,000 of it, guess what? You're on the hook for that other $1,000, and the whole 100 will count against your cap, okay? Now, how do you get to that $100,000 is the question, and that is the crux of this whole conversation. Okay, so we promised this kid $100,000. How do we get that 100,000 outside of rev share for NIL purposes? How do we get them that money and it be approved and it be legal and everything that goes along with it? Well, we just talked about earlier, no longer can that money come directly from collectives. It seems like that's going to be a thing of the past. Collectives are going to basically operate, the ones that are still going to operate are going to somewhat operate as a marketing agency, where they are, I guess, getting together brands and players, and still the brands would have to pay the players directly. It can't come to the collective and then go to the player. Where Cohen has been so concerned, and maybe rightfully so, and we'll talk about why here in just a second, is that under the guidelines, deals are going to be heavily scrutinized that go through this NIL Go. And there has been a ton of deals just flat out rejected. First of all, your collectives, all those deals have been flat out rejected. There was a tweet earlier sometime last week that said that I think there was 1,200 deals that had been submitted through NIL Go. 80 of them had been flat out rejected. Only maybe 300 or so had been just approved immediately. And then there's a lot of them that are in limbo. And that matters, okay? Because a lot of these deals are time sensitive, okay? So if you have you're going to get a chunk of money for an appearance at, let's just say, a auto dealership. They're doing a autograph signing or something at a car dealership. And let's say it's for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. Doesn't matter, whatever the money is, but it's on a certain date. If the clearinghouse doesn't approve it before that certain date, well, guess what? That event, that paycheck is no longer valid. So you have all these obstacles now that make it a lot tougher to be able to justify the numbers that you're putting out there. Now, if the kid's on campus already If the kid's on campus already, it's not a huge deal. It's not that big of a deal because more than likely they're getting a fair amount from rev share, and then you're kind of beyond the if you promise this on paper, you have to fulfill it 100%. They're already here. Okay. Where it becomes an obstacle is when when you put it on paper and you're trying to fulfill that number. We're going to talk about the obstacles of that here in just a second, but we'll be back right after this. So scratch players on the current roster. Let's talk about just freshmen right now. Okay. So let's look at a commit in Auburn's class. Let's just say Hezekiah Harris. That's Auburn. I think their top rated commit right now. Okay. Let's say Hezekiah Harris, you've offered him, I don't know these numbers. Okay. So don't go saying that I'm saying this is what we're paying him. But let's just say you've offered him $200,000 in rev share and you're going to put on paper $200,000 in NIL as well. Okay. Auburn's now, since it's on paper, on the hook for that $200,000. Auburn has to have that $200,000 fulfilled one way or another. Okay. Legally through NIL Go, the clearinghouse. Okay. So Auburn's going to have to find deals that can be submitted and get approved with legitimate companies, not, it's got to fulfill an actual business purpose. So think of all the different obstacles that could come into play. Is the person too close to the university? Is the person considered a booster? Is it a legitimate business? Is the value, I guess not adequate? Is the value justifiable? All those things are going to go into account. And if Auburn comes up just short, like what if Auburn had a time-sensitive deal scheduled for him and to fulfill that number, and hey, it just doesn't quite get through the clearinghouse in time. All of those things are what's playing into Cohen's decision to kind of play it safe at this point in time. Okay. Now, I'm saying all this not as a defense. Okay. Understand that. This is not me making the case to defend the decisions one way or the other. There ain't no excuse for Auburn being where they are in recruiting right now. Okay. And it does seem that it's almost 100% NIL related. There's no excuse. Okay. What I'm trying to do is just show you and paint a little bit better picture of the reasons why things are the way they are and the things that you hear, what they mean a little bit deeper into detail. So what do you do? Okay. Now, what do you do now that we understand that, okay, I'm free to offer this child any amount of money. I'm free to promise this child any amount of money that I can come up with. Okay. And as a university, I'm free to do whatever I can to fulfill that promise. I can set up the deal. Okay. But if I come up $1 short, there's eligibility issues you have to worry about. There's suspensions you have to worry about. Everything that goes along with that with managing that salary cap. Okay. You have to take all those into account. So I think Cohen's under the mindset that these deals are not going to be as easily to go through as a lot of people think. So it's really risky to put large numbers on paper with sort of not really knowing how you're going to be able to fulfill these deals, or even if those numbers will be able to be fulfilled and justified through the clearinghouse. Auburn's not the only one battling this. They're just not doing as well with it as others have. So I don't know the right answer. It feels like it's got to be somewhere in the middle. Like if there's teams that are going the far extreme and then Auburn's extreme the other way, got to be a little bit of middle ground somewhere. But you just gotta this is the world we live in now. This is football now. This is college football now. NIL Go it's doing its job. It seems like it's filtering out the garbage, and they're sticking to it. Unless something changes over the next several days, it seems like they're going to stick to it. And Sankey's sort of backing it, which I guess if you're on that commission, you pretty much, this is what you asked for. And this is sort of maybe a move into the right direction. I still think there's got to be some type of collective bargaining that goes on eventually down the road. But if you manage it correctly and you have your ducks in a row, it doesn't really level the playing field, because the bigger schools are still going to be able to go get the bigger deals, and teams are going to be creative with how they go get those deals. And some are going to have advantages over others. But as far as just the wild, wild west, if it's the wild, wild west, it's under the table stuff that doesn't count against the books, if you know what I'm saying. And that, to me, that's even going to be harder than it was, way back in the day. Because these kids are getting large sums of money, it's going to be hard to, hide some, these sums of money under the table. Auburn's got to adjust. I think it's going to be impossible not to change and tweak your strategy down the stretch. You got two or three guys right now that if you could get those in the boat, maybe flex your muscles a little bit, and even if you have to go out on a limb, they're not going to be here until January. So you got 5 months to figure out how you're going to justify the number you throw out there for NIL on top of the rev share. If you could get Jaquez Wilkes, Jace Matthews, who just said, hey, I'm ready to commit. I'm ready to get a date going, and I'm looking for a graphic to be made. So that could be coming anytime soon. Auburn really loves Jace Matthews. And then I still think, Wilson Zaire, that's another one who's a legacy that you just, at a position of need, you really need to get. So we'll see what happens. Again, I was hoping for some more clarity. Let me know if that makes sense, that middle part of the show where we talked about the NIL Go perspective, the clearinghouse perspective, and why you can't just go throw out crazy numbers, because you're going to have to back it up. And there are big obstacles in the way of backing it up. You can't just send them a check from On to Victory anymore. That's just not going to be the case moving forward. But again, it seems like all collectives, all deals coming directly from collectives are going to be completely shut down. So you got to adjust, you got to adapt, or you're going to get left behind. So what's Auburn going to do? That's the big question. I lean towards making a couple of tweaks and getting after it. They've always done a really good job on the NIL side, from fulfillment to securing the funds to, helping the kids. I mean, they've always done a really good job. So I assume they'll adjust and make things work. And I guess we'll still be counting down to that August 1st date to see what happens shortly thereafter. So guys, let me know what you think. Let me know if you got any questions, and I'll try to answer as much as I can. We'll keep up to date with everything that's going on at SEC Media Days. Auburn goes tomorrow. So we'll probably break down everything on Wednesday and so on and so forth, and have some fun doing it. So guys, thanks for listening. We'll be back again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.